All right, let's start with some breaking inputs that are coming in from Bangladesh in a development that will have far-reaching consequences on the politics in Bangladesh. The ex-Prime Minister Khaleda Zia and the main opposition leader and the chief of the BNP has now been sentenced to jail for 5 years in a case of corruption. Khaleda Zia has been convicted in connection with embezzlement of $252,000 in foreign donations that were actually originally meant for the Zia Orphanage Trust that she herself runs. Now, in the same case, her son Tariq Rahman and 4 others have also been sentenced to a period of 10 years in prison. The ex-premier on the 30th of November in 2014 had lost her last-ditch effort to evade the graft trial as the Supreme Court had turned down her second leave to appeal petition challenging her indictment and had asked her to face trial in a lower court. The High Court earlier had validated the trial in the lower court, which on the 19th of March in 2014 had indicted Zia on 2 charges of graft brought by the Anti-Corruption Commission. Now, the ACC alleged that the 2 charities, the other being the Zia Charitable Trust, existed only on paper, and a huge amount of money was in fact being misappropriated in the name of the 2 organizations, while Zia was the premier during the BNP's 2001 to 2006 government. All right, and to discuss more on this and what this would actually mean for politics in Bangladesh, we are joined in by our Bureau Chief from Dhaka, Saud Ahmed. Saud, these are big developments. The key principal opposition leader in Bangladesh has been convicted on charges of graft.
So indeed, it's a big development when Bangladesh is just less than a year away from the next national election. Former Prime Minister Khaleda Zia is the leader and chairperson of Bangladesh Nationalist Party, and this verdict that has been delivered, which jails her for 5 years, will effectively bar her from contesting in elections until she's cleared of these convictions. In any case, a person charged for 2 years, a person jailed for 2 years will not be able to contest in any election, according to the Constitution of Bangladesh, as has been shared by lawmakers and legal practitioners over here. So, but mind you, though, this is a lower court giving this verdict, so Khaleda Zia can still appeal at the higher court, and that would mean a change again. So that is the development that we have.
Absolutely, indeed. Now, considering the fact that the lower court has in fact indeed convicted Khaleda Zia, can she play the victim card and can she prop up a proxy candidate in the elections that are to be held in the next 7-8 months in Bangladesh?
Yes, of course. Those plans have been shared by Khaleda Zia that there would be an outline of the party representation while she is away or while she is in the jail. So that plan is still in the wraps, has not been shared in the media who would be representing the party while she's away. She has said in media conferences to continue the campaign for the next election. BNP will be contesting. If you'd remember, BNP boycotted the last national elections held in 2014, but now they are willing to join the next national elections and compete and contend with the parties that participate in the election. The 5 others who have been accused in the same case of embezzling the funds from the Zia Orphanage Trust, including Khaleda Zia's son Tariq Rahman, have received 10 years jail terms from this court.
Absolutely, indeed. And also, Saud, if you can give us the details of this case itself. To what extent is Khaleda Zia complicit in this embezzlement charge of $252,000 because her son in the same case has in fact been given a sentence, like you said, of 10 years in prison?
Well, Khaleda Zia has said in press conference yesterday that she has not done any corruption while she was in power, and she is not a party to this corruption case. But what the court has found, or the charges that have been brought against her, is that she, along with her son and members of the BNP, at least 4 others, were involved in the corruption and embezzlement of these fund of Bangladeshi taka worth of 20 million that has been drawn out from charity funds that Orphanage Trust, Zia Orphanage Trust, has received. And that is what the charge comes for. And this will effectively disrupt the political sphere, for that matter, in Bangladesh, the political fabric that there is, because the elections are coming, all parties are now preparing to contest. And with Khaleda Zia away, this will definitely be the impediment for this opposition, which is effectively the largest opposition while the ruling party, Awami League, is in power. So that would be a major challenge.
Absolutely indeed. Now, Saud, you've been tracking the politics in Bangladesh very closely. With the conviction of Khaleda Zia, does it mean that Sheikh Hasina now is unbeatable?
Sheikh Hasina is the biggest contender, for that matter, now that she is in the power and she is the prime minister. There is effectively no other political party that is capable of contesting in the capacity that Khaleda Zia or her party can, while the Awami League contests in an election. Because Awami League and the Bangladesh Nationalist Party are the two major political parties who have formed alliances with smaller parties in the country. But with Khaleda Zia away in the jail, this will be worth seeing how the political fabric develops in the course of time. There is already a lot of procession, sporadic procession that is taking place across the country, and authorities have taken very tough measures to contain and thwart any kind of unrest as a result of the verdict that has just been delivered. I am right now situated just yards away from the special court, and I can see a lot of these security forces deployed over here. They have picked up people. Prison vans have been put in place in the capital in most parts that I have noticed since morning, and they have been picking up people. Just close to me is a prison van where they have taken at least 10 persons here on suspicion of their support and activism with the Bangladesh Nationalist Party. So that goes to show that the authorities are highly alert, but it's not clear if these people that they are picking up, more than 1,000 people have been picked up in a week's time preceding the verdict. And human rights organizations have said that this is an arbitrary form of arrest, and that goes against the norms of new human rights practices. So that's a concern that the fear prevails. The Dhaka capital city at this time remains literally empty in most parts. No vehicles are on the road as a result of these measures that the security forces have taken, and the apprehension that there might be agitation and violence on the street. Dhaka has witnessed severe forms of violence even in 2014, when there have been 3 months, about 90 days of hartals and the general strikes that have been called by the opposition Bangladesh Nationalist Party.
Right, absolutely indeed. And considering the fact that Khaleda Zia has been the Prime Minister of Bangladesh 3 times in the past, it would be a brave person who could write her off. And in fact, there is information which comes in that immediately in the aftermath of the verdict that was read out, Khaleda Zia has reportedly said that I will be back, is what she has told her relatives there. Now, Saud, talk to us a little about how this will change politics in Bangladesh. Khaleda Zia has been this towering figure in Bangladeshi politics. With her out of the equation, what happens to the Bangladeshi Nationalist Party itself?
The major leaders of the Bangladesh Nationalist Party effectively is Khaleda Zia and her son Tariq Rahman, who is in self-exile in London. And in absence of Khaleda Zia and her son, it is the Secretary General, Mirza Fakhrul Islam Alamgir, who is the spokesperson for the Bangladesh Nationalist Party. But it is not clear if he would be the person representing BNP as a leader of the party while the leaders Khaleda Zia and Tariq Rahman are away. It's not clear as of yet who would be nominated to contest in the election. But having said that, I should also mention that this verdict that has come from the lower court is likely to be challenged by BNP, and it would depend on what the verdict comes from the higher court, and that would determine whether Khaleda Zia would be able to contest or not. But at this point in time, it is clear that Khaleda Zia will not be able to participate in the elections unless there's a change in the legal verdict that is delivered.
Do continue to stay on with us. I'm told that we have the present Law Minister of Bangladesh, Mr. Anisul Haq. Mr. Anisul Haq, how do you view this development? The key principal opposition leader in Bangladesh has been convicted on charges of graft?
Of course, this case has been going on for a long time, and it was actually initiated by the caretaker government in 2008, and it has taken 10 years to come to an end. And it is, so far I have learned, it is a case where documents spoke more than witnesses. So it is it is all documented.
Right.
So, she has been convicted and sentenced to 5 years imprisonment. And now we wait and see whether, of course, I presume that she will appeal against this conviction.
Right.
And the case will move on to the higher court.
Right. Absolutely, indeed, Mr. Anisul Haq. But the information says that prosecutors were in fact seeking for life imprisonment for Khaleda Zia in this case. Do you think 5 years she's been let off too easily?
You see, I am not going to question the decision of the court, but of course, when the prosecutors did ask, the prosecutors who were acting on behalf of Anti-Corruption Commission of Bangladesh, they did ask for imprisonment for life, and what I read was that they had said that because they wanted an exemplary punishment,
right,
whereby it would stand out that a very responsible head of government had committed corruption.
Mr. Haq, what people from the Bangladesh Nationalist Party would say is that these charges are essentially motivated, being the principal opposition leader that Khaleda Zia is. The present government is in fact on a sort of a witch hunt to try and take her out of the election campaigning for electoral gains in the forthcoming elections. How do you respond to that?
Yes, I'll just put some facts on the table for the people to
right.
assess. As I said, that this case was started by the caretaker government at that time.
Okay.
And you must remember that the caretaker government was at that time supported by the army chief, who was handpicked by Khaleda Zia.
Okay.
It was at that time that the case was lodged. And then what had happened is that the process had gone on, and at least on 23 occasions against the framing of charge and all the legal evidence that she had moved the High Court and the Appellate Division of the Supreme Court of Bangladesh, where she lost on all counts. And only after that, this case was transferred to the trial court. Again, I must also say that, you see, on earlier occasions, she had also given no confidence upon the judges who were trying this case, and the higher court had accepted her no confidence and changed the judges, and this judge was to their satisfaction. So, from that point of view, I would say that their contention is baseless, that the government had any hand in it.
That the government had any hand in it. And also, if I could just draw your attention to one other interesting detail here. Now, Khaleda Zia, now that she's convicted by one of the lower special courts, which was hearing the case, as the law minister, where does she stand legally? Can she still contest the forthcoming general elections in Bangladesh?
You see, regarding that, there are two different decisions of our superior court. So, at the end of the day, it will depend upon the superior court, meaning the appeal court, as to whether Khaleda Zia will be able to contest the election or not. But our constitution, Article 66 of our constitution, says that whoever is convicted for more than 2 years for moral turpitude will not be able to contest the election. That being the position, I would say that it depends upon this appellate court to say whether she will be able to contest the election or not.
Right. Fair point, Mr. Haq. And the other issue that I want to raise up is, the allegations of graft which have been leveled against Khaleda Zia. Some have said, there were allegations of graft that were put against the Chief Justice of Bangladesh, Justice Surendra Kumar Sinha, who was forced to resign in the month of November. So there is an amount of these motivated charges that may in fact be put forth against people which the present government in Bangladesh is not very happy with. How do you counter those charges?
May I please correct you on your last question? The former Chief Justice, Justice Surendra Kumar Sinha, was never forced to resign.
Right.
That is the fact. The thing is that he resigned after his brother judges refused to sit with him because there were, according to them, there were charges of corruption which were too close.
Right. Mr. Anisul Haq, if I could just interrupt you there. The reason why I brought out the issue of Justice Surendra Kumar Sinha is because he had to flee to Australia. And the statement that he had at that time said was because he had ruffled feathers with those in power, these allegations were leveled against him. So what the Bangladesh Nationalist Party will now say is that the allegations of graft again are being leveled against Khaleda Zia because she is the principal key opposition leader in Bangladesh.
Let me answer both by saying that none of them can say that the allegations of graft were pumped up by President Trump. You see, for Khaleda Zia, this was way back in 2008 that this case was initiated with the allegation was made, and then after investigation, the charge was there was a charge sheet, and the charge was framed by the court, and all the courts of this country looked at those charges whenever Khaleda Zia went to the higher court, and they found that these charges were absolutely legal charges. Now, regarding Mr. Justice S.K. Sinha, I must say that the allegations of corruption that were made against him, so far I have learned from the newspapers, is that, and through a press release of the Supreme Court, is that all the 5 judges, they looked at the charges, 5 judges of no less a court than the highest court of Bangladesh.
Right.
They looked at the charges, they found out that there was substance in it, and they said that we cannot sit with a corrupt Chief Justice, and then that is the point that Mr. S.K. Sinha went away.
Right.
And he went by his own volition.
Fair enough. Mr. Anisul Haq, let me draw you to the issue which now concerns Bangladesh. With the principal key opposition leader out of the way, how do you see this conviction, having an impact on Bangladeshi politics? Is Sheikh Hasina now unbeatable in the forthcoming general elections there?
No, let me make it very clear. It's not a question of putting her out of the way. If in the higher court she is allowed to contest the election, we would very much welcome her to contest the election. The point here is the establishment of the rule of law, and I guess we have done that.
Okay. All right, Mr. Anisul Haq, you have said it is the rule of law that you've upheld. Thank you very much indeed for joining us on WION and getting us your perspective on this. Now, this is a judgment that will, of course, have far-reaching consequences on the politics in Bangladesh. Meanwhile, my colleague Saud Ahmed is still with us from Dhaka. Saud, we just heard the Law Minister Anisul Haq there say that this is not a motivated case. This is not something that the government has done, but rather this is a clear case where the rule of law has in fact been allowed to play out its full course, and that is exactly what has happened in the case of Khaleda Zia. She's now been convicted, faces 5 years of imprisonment. But my question to you, Saud, is this is not just a simple case of law, taking its own course, because there are allegations which have been put forth against the present government, like it happened in the case of, Surendra Kumar Sinha. Wherever the government is not happy with a particular individual, allegations of graft are leveled against them. How do you view this?
Solid, this is now a legal affair, and the court has delivered its verdict. So, irrespective of these allegations that have surfaced in case of successive governments saying that charges put against the opposition are politically motivated by the ruling quarters. It's a practice, it's a norm that has been there for more than as many governments that we have had in terms of the democratically elected ones and also the caretaker governments backed by military and the others. Now, once the case gets to the court and the verdict is delivered, it becomes very difficult to challenge or even make a comment for that matter, because it's now a legal issue. It's no longer just a case of political motivation that the opposition very well says.
Right.
That is irrespective of whichever party is in the opposition. So now it's an affair that has to be dealt legally by the judges, and they are the custodians of giving the verdict on and verifying whether the cases are true or not. Beyond that, it remains very difficult for us journalists to even make a remark at this point in time.
Right. Absolutely indeed. And also, according to reports which have come in, it's being said that Khaleda Zia will be taken to the Kashimpur Women's Central Jail and will be lodged in there after this conviction. How do you see this development now impacting, the issues on basis of which this election will be fought? How much of an issue will corruption be, considering that one of the most towering figures in Bangladeshi politics now stands convicted of graft?
Sorry, if you can repeat, I missed out your words.
My question to you was, how is this going to impact on the issues on basis of which this forthcoming election in Bangladesh will be fought? How much of an issue will corruption be in this case now, Saud? Right, we seem to have lost the line with our Bureau Chief from Dhaka, Saud Ahmed. We'll try to re-establish the line, but this, of course, is the big story that we're tracking. This are, in a development which will have far-reaching consequences, not just in the politics within Bangladesh itself, but also on the much wider and larger region of South Asia. Khaleda Zia, one of the most towering personalities in Bangladeshi politics. She's been the Prime Minister of Bangladesh twice in the past. She's the second woman leader to head a government in the world, anywhere in the world. She now stands convicted on charges of graft for having embezzled $252,000 in terms of the money that had in fact been sent to a orphanage trust that she was running, and those are the funds that she is now accused and has now been convicted of having embezzled. Now, and this is, of course, in many ways one of those big moments in Bangladeshi politics, because elections are due in the next 7-8 months, and corruption, of course, will be one of the key focus. With Khaleda Zia now being out of the equation,